Tammy Wiley to introduce Paul. Welcome. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. My name is Tammy Wiley. My traditional name is Cynthia. I would like to thank Geraldine for welcoming us to the Nanaimo First Nations territory. I've had the opportunity to get to know Paul over about the past 15 years through different projects at Tilikum-Lalum Aboriginal Friendship Center. I've witnessed Paul demonstrate support, advocacy, be a mentor, be a trainer, an educator through film, and I've also witnessed his effectiveness as a community events organizer.
My name is Goldblatt. I'm a business owner in Nanaimo, and I've known Paul for about 11 years, and at that time I've been continuously inspired by his knowledge and commitment and work educating me and everybody else who ever comes in contact with him personally or watches his films or comes across any of his work online and publicly about international corporate trade deals, water issues, First Nations issues, tar sands, pipelines, tankers, and just whenever I think I know something about anything, I come to Paul and get humbled and schooled by somebody who always knows so much more and is so articulate in explaining it.
So Paul, I've also had the opportunity to witness Paul demonstrate genuine commitment to social justice, the rights of Indigenous people, to health care, to other social programs, and to economic justice. But not just locally or provincially, I've seen it nationally and globally.
And Paul's commitment, thank you, Paul's commitment to the environment is well documented in his film work and community activism. He also is an important whistleblower. He blew the whistle on the threats to community drinking water on Vancouver Island. He blew the whistle on police provocateurs in Montebello, Quebec, when the three amigos. He blew the whistle on the Anti-Democratic Security and Prosperity Partnership, and I hope if you have not seen Yumi and the SPP, you should see that movie. Paul directed it, it's amazing. He also blew the whistle on the Kinder Morgan pipeline expansion and with the first video to draw regional, national, and international media attention to the export of raw bitumen out of the port of Metro Vancouver.
And aside from all those wonderful things, Paul is caring and considerate. He's compassionate. He works well with everyone, every age, young, old, diverse cultures, diverse economic backgrounds. He listens, he's considerate, he treats everyone with respect, and I believe he would make a great MP.
Please join us in welcoming the Federal Green Party candidate for Nanaimo-Ladysmith and our riding's next MP in Ottawa, our inspiring friend, Paul Manley.
The land just got off of a plane, I think, how many, 24 hours you've been flying to get back from Israel? It's quite a trip, and he's standing, able to speak to us. Thank you very much, friends. I'd like to acknowledge, I'd really like to thank Geraldine Manson for the welcome, the beautiful welcome. Not so much Paula and Geraldine, I feel the closeness to the Nanaimo people. I'd like to recognize that we're on the traditional territory of the Nanaimo First Nation. And I'd also like to recognize that Nanaimo-Ladysmith is on the traditional territory of Snanawas, Stuminas, and the Nanaimo First peoples. And I'd like to thank them for sharing this territory, to live here, to work here, and to play here. Friends, thank you for your support. I really appreciate you coming out tonight. to launch this historic chapter for our political community. We are going to change history. We are going to make Nanaimo-Ladysmith green. I'd like to thank my family, my parents, Jim and Eva, my life partner, spouse, Samantha, my daughters, Aiden and EJ, for your ongoing love and support. I'd really like to thank my campaign team. I've got a really dedicated group of people here that want to work with me, and you saw some of them stand up here tonight. There's a bunch of others that are involved in the campaign, and we need your help. You can come down, volunteer, donate, give us your time, give us your energy. Together, we are going to make this riding green. Before I do anything else, I want to invite Jordan Ellis to come up on stage and to make my first commitment as a Green Party candidate. And that's with Jordan is with Fair Vote Canada, and I'm going to sign the pledge with Fair Vote Canada. This is
tell you about the $1,000 check today.
Do I have a taker for the $1,000 check? So Fair Vote Canada is asking political candidates to sign the following declaration. We, the undersigned Canadian citizens, demand the following basic democratic rights: to cast an equal and effective vote and to be represented fairly in Parliament, regardless of political belief or place of residence. To be governed by a fairly elected Parliament where the share of seats held by each political party closely reflects the popular vote. To live under legitimate laws approved by a majority of elected parliamentarians representing a majority of voters. The current winner-take-all voting system is absolutely inconsistent with these fundamental democratic rights. As a result, Canada is faced with a spiraling democratic deficit. The need for reform is urgent. We need a parliament that represents the political and social diversity of Canada. We demand that the House of Commons immediately undertake a public consultation to amend the Canada Elections Act and incorporate these vital democratic rights. The House, after this consultation, should quickly implement a suitable form of proportional representation.
For his support for Fair Vote Canada. I'm sure Elizabeth will bring it up later. Of all the great things that were said about Paul, the one thing that overarches them all is he has such a strong belief in democracy. And we know we're in a great democratic deficit right now. I invite each of you to go online to fairvotecanada.ca and sign the petition that's there for you to sign, so that we can, between now and October, late October or even earlier if that becomes the case, can let our Parliament know that indeed a lot of our citizens are fed up with the way things are now, and we do want to change it. Fair Vote Canada is a grassroots organization. You're welcome to come on board and help us with that piece if you're guided to do so. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks. Thank you, Jordan, and thank you to Fair Vote Canada and the Council of Canadians for your commitment to democracy and reform in this country. In addition to electoral reform, we face a number of serious issues that we can only deal with at the federal level. We have a serious problem with climate change. We have a serious problem with inequality in this country. We need to deal with healthcare. We've had a dismantling of healthcare. We're about to see a huge series of cuts after the next election that are being brought about by the Harper regime. We need to see a fair treaty process with First Nations and a more equitable society. I've worked on all of these. I've worked on all of these issues as a filmmaker, educator, and community organizer. I was raised in a politically active family and taught to do the right thing, to stand up for people that needed a voice, to be a good environmental steward. I've taken those things to heart in my life, and that's how I've lived my life. As a filmmaker, I do my research. I listen to people. I weigh what's been said, and I try to gather different perspectives. And then I try to glean that and create educational films that help people decide, understand complex issues, and decide how to make a better future for themselves and future generations. The skills I've developed as a filmmaker and community activist have helped me to develop the skills that I need politically. I'm a good listener. I know how to be fair. I understand the responsibility of being entrusted to represent people who need to be represented and want to be represented. Before I made this decision to seek the nomination for the Green Party, I did a lot of research. I read Vision Green, the policy book, and I was really impressed with the policies that I found. Vision Green balances social justice and social programs with good economic policies for a steady state economy without sacrificing the environment in the process, and making sure that what we do now will benefit future generations. We can't pay for social programs now with an economy that destroys the environment. It doesn't make any sense. There's no health care on a sick planet. There's no jobs on a dead planet. So we need to bring the environment back into the economics. The Green Party of Canada takes our environmental issues seriously. They're the only party that is opposed to every new pipeline coming out of the tar sands that's going to accelerate growth of the tar sands. We don't need accelerated growth of the tar sands. We already have 2 million barrels a day coming out of the tar sands. They're growing fast enough as it is. Thank you very much. The Green Party is the only party that's calling for a national moratorium on gas fracking. And we want to protect our water resources. We want to protect our ozone layer. And methane leaking from gas fracking is a highly potent greenhouse gas, and it's going to create a lot more problems for us. The Green Party is the only party that consistently votes against trade agreements that have undemocratic clauses that take away our rights as citizens and as governments to make decisions for us. The Green Party has a solid economic plan that will shift the Canadian economy away from raw extraction industries and bring us into a greener, high-tech, innovative economy. That's what we need in this country. We don't need to be in a boom and bust export economy anymore where we're just dragging out raw resources, raw logs, and shipping them off. We've lost all the mills on the island. And now we're pulling all the guck out of the tar sands, and now they want to frack the province so that they can export natural gas, which is going to just cost consumers more for natural gas. It's going to cost industry more for natural gas. We have a benefit here of our resources, and we need to shift into a green economy, and we need to use the energy that we have and the resources that we have to build secondary industries, to use the innovation that we have with small business, to use the intelligence that we have from our university graduates to keep jobs here and build a steady state economy. This boom and bust run has got to go. A little water though. You know what I think about water? It's important stuff. You know, they're talking about methane on the island, coal bed methane. And there are all these coal tenures up and down the island. They're going to start fracking on the island if we let them. We can't let that happen. This is our water, this is our right, this is our lives. This is what we depend on, is water for life. The 6 fundamental principles that form the foundation of the Green Party policy: social justice, non-violence, sustainability, ecological wisdom, respect for diversity, and participatory democracy are the pieces that guide all of the policy of the Green Party. And those are fundamentals that I can stand behind. These are the principles that will guide me as a representative for you, the constituents in Ottawa. I believe that Ottawa needs a member of parliament that can speak their mind, vote their conscience, and represent their constituents. And that's what I intend to do. Without fear of party leaders or party bureaucrats, I might not. There will be no ribbon behind. Before I made this decision, I went across Canada on the Green Train as well, and I was hired as a videographer, and I've read Vision Green to make sure that the values fit me before I take on a job. I'm just like that. That's what I do. I don't work for corporations or companies or organizations that don't fit my values. And when I read Vision Green, I thought, this is awesome, I can get behind this. So then I met the people on the Green Train, and most of them are social democrats that think the same things that I do, that you know, have the same passion for social justice, economic, stable state economy, and protecting the environment. And I thought, what an awesome group of people to work with. I share that vision, and I got a chance to sit down and talk to Elizabeth May about policy and about her history and about all kinds of things, and I was amazed at what I learned. And the myths that I've bought into in the past. I think, you know, you get a copy of her book, it's pretty good. It's pretty amazing. I'm a family man. So I'm a husband, I'm a father of 2 lovely daughters. And I know that the Green Party has great social programs that look out for families, they look out for children, youth, seniors, eliminating poverty, creating healthy communities. Awesome policies on social justice, social policy, and not just what we have, but expanding on that vision, that vision that Tommy Douglas had for healthcare. We need to build on that. He didn't want to just stop at public Medicare. He had other ideas, and the Green Party is totally onto that. I'm a small business operator, and I understand the challenges of small business, and the Green Party supports small businesses. Small businesses are awesome. Small businesses hire people in our community. They spend money in our community. They pay taxes in our community. They don't offshore their money and avoid taxes. They bring innovation to our economy, and it's important to support small business. So I have no problem at all standing with small business people. I'm one of them. The clean energy industry now employs more people than the tar sands and all the spin-off industries from the tar sands. And those are small companies, innovative companies that are changing the way that we run our economy. They're creating a stable, steady state economy. And that's what we need more of. I'm a union member. I'm a member of the Canadian Freelancers Union. We're the community chapter of Unifor. And I'm a union member because I believe in standing together with working people. And the Green Party has great labor policy. It believes in extending holiday time, $15 an hour minimum wage, and better working standards for Canadians. I'm on the board of the Mid-Island Co-op, and I belong to a bunch of other co-ops. And co-ops are awesome. They're a great way of building local economy and keeping money circulating in the economy. And the Green Party has great policies on building the cooperative movement in this country, and policies that I can stand behind with cooperatives. And I believe that Canada's role in the world is important, and Green Party policy will see us take back our role in a way that we can all be proud and put our Canadian flag back on the back of our backpacks again. It was tough going to El Salvador and telling people you're a Canadian when everybody's pissed off with Canadian mining companies and want to come down there and destroy the environment, destroy the water that they're depending on for life, And then when they can't get an opportunity to do that, they turn around and use investor state provisions in the trade agreements to sue and try to get the loss of potential profit line back up. So El Salvador is facing $300 million in lawsuits by Oceana Gold, a Canadian-Australian mining company, for the loss of potential profit for a mine that nobody in that country wants. Yeah, shame. I know, it's like you tell people they're Canadian down there and they're going, you know about that mining company. Yeah, and talk to people from Honduras and Guatemala and elsewhere, and it's the same story. I want to be able to travel around again with a big Canadian flag on my backpack and be proud. I know that many of you are prepared to go to extraordinary lengths to defend our environment and defend the rights of other people. And I want you to know that when you do that, as your member of parliament, I will have your backs and I will speak for you. Because it's important for people to stand up and do what's right, and it's important to have elected representatives that believe that what you're doing is right and are prepared to defend you. The Greens are running in this election to give people hope and leadership for planetary survival, to overcome cynicism and despair about politics and politicians, to provide leadership that will inspire young people to work for positive change, to give people hope for a different kind of politics, so that they're not voting out of fear or voting for the lesser of evils, because that's not a vote worth voting for. We're going to gather the vote. We're going to gather the vote of the 36% of the electorate that didn't bother to come out and vote in this riding in the last election. We're going to gather the vote of young people. 60% of young people didn't bother to vote in the last federal election. And we're going to give them something to vote for. Yeah. We're going to gather the vote of First Nations who want more active representation and want to be included, not just consulted and heard and walked away from afterwards, but included in economic decisions for what happens within their traditional territories. We're going to gather the vote of progressive conservatives who are fed up with what the Harper government is doing and all the environmental destruction and democratic ruin that he's putting this country through. We're going to gather the vote of liberals in this riding who know that to back a strong candidate to beat the conservatives, they're going to need to vote green. Yeah. And we're going to gather the vote of New Democrats who aren't happy with the direction of that party. We want to work together with all those concerned with climate change, the impact of trade deals that take away our democratic rights, people who want to build communities and have reconciliation with First Nations and other people who have been wronged in this country, social justice, human rights. I'm running as a Green. I'm running as a Green not just to have my name on the ballot, not just to have my say in campaign meetings, not just to fly the flag. I am in it to win it. With your help, I know we can do it. So we got to vote for vision, vote for hope, vote for change. Together, we're going to make this riding green. I received a call from the most effective woman in Parliament, the only woman elected in a position of leadership in the House of Commons. She has a long and storied history of a commitment to social justice and the environment. She was listed as one of the world's most influential women by Newsweek magazine in 2010. She was voted Parliamentarian of the Year in 2012. She was voted Hardest Working Parliamentarian of the Year in 2013. She was voted Best Orator in Parliament in 2014. She's going to smoke this speech of mine. I want to support a strong woman leader in this country. And so I have said yes. I have said yes, and I would like to introduce to you Elizabeth May, the leader of the Green Party.
Thank you all, and thank you especially Paul. And I have a pledge. Paul started out with his first pledge on the campaign trail to Fair Vote Canada. I want to read the letter that I'm going to give Paul, and I'll read it to all of you, and then he can frame it and make sure we both live by our pledges. Here goes. This is addressed to Paul Manley, candidate, Green Party, Nanaimo-Ladysmith. By coincidence, it's today's date. And it says, Dear Paul, I am so pleased that you will be the next Member of Parliament for Nanaimo-Ladysmith. I look forward to working with you in the House of Commons. I want to confirm that your #1 responsibility is to Canada and to your constituents. You work for them, not me. Under Green Party of Canada policy, we do not whip votes. We don't whip MPs either. While we work as a caucus to try to achieve consensus in how we will approach bills and issues in the House, you will never be told how to vote. You have my pledge. You will not be whipped. And your pledge in return to the Green Party and your constituents is to conduct yourself respectfully in the House and to never heckle. I can tell you, sometimes it's tempting. I just warned you now, man. It's a little tempting. When I feel the temptation coming on, I resort to Twitter. You will never heckle. And you will be transparent and accountable and publish all your expenses online. You pledge to keep your focus on issues and never engage in the personality-based, abusive tactics of hyper-partisan politics. Together we will make democracy healthier by walking the talk of grassroots politics.